You mentioned China briefly in your remarks, and of course, Dr. Roberts mentioned China as well. There have been rumors about Chinese delegations visiting Hargeisa. Can you give us any insight into those conversations and what Beijing is saying to you?
As you know, the Horn of Africa region today, all the superpowers or the developed countries or the G7 countries, they are competing on the Horn of Africa. And every government, China, USA, UK, Soviet Union, every government is trying to get the influence of a nation in that region for their national interests. So China is one of these countries who are always competing, especially with the United States on the Horn of Africa. So yes, their delegation has come to Somaliland, and we discuss our interests and their interests. But most of the time, now we have, different opinions, conflict, because the issue of Taiwan. The Chinese are very upset that Somaliland has made economical relations, and opened a trade office representative from Taiwan in our capital. But Somaliland is an independent country. We are not economically strong. We are not militarily strong. We are poor, but we are very proud. And we do our decisions by our own. No one can influence us.
Thank you for that. You mentioned how proud Somaliland is and
Yes.
independent, and that's clear if you study Somaliland's history at all. One of the things that strikes me, and one of the reasons I believe that the United States should recognize Somaliland, is that I don't see any future where Somaliland willingly rejoins or joins southern Somalia. Do you agree with that? Do you see any scenario where Somaliland would willingly join with southern Somalia?
I am not clear the decisions of the United States of America about Somaliland. But I hope, and our people are expecting to have a close engagement with the United States of America, because we share certain values. First, we share the history. Somaliland was a British colony, and USA was a British colony. The Americans fought for their independence, the same way Somaliland fought for its independence. We have the same culture, the language, and most of behaviors based on UK culture. Second, Somaliland and Somalia will not share a union for the foreseeable future. Why? Our mentalities are different. Those who are in Mogadishu since 1960 and today, 30 years we were in union. That 30 years was very difficult, both of us. There was infighting inside the country. Rejection of the Constitution, 1960. Unsuccessful coup in 1961. Those in Mogadishu, they believe it, and they believe today, and it is in their mindset that Somaliland is a small region of Somalia. They neglect the history that we were two independent countries that joined voluntarily. But most of the people in Mogadishu, they don't believe that. Why? In 1991, Somali Republic failed. It was a government composed of two different states, united voluntarily. But the united international community, the U.S. was leading. In 2003, they recognized part of the Union as an independent. So why do they recognize Somaliland? Why do they accept? Because most of the international community, the European countries, EU, and the Americans, who are the leaders of democracy in this globe, are supporting Mogadishu, which is based the whole Shabab terrorist and failed leaders to their people, to protect their people. So why do they? And why do we accept to be part of them? Since they are not agreeing that we were equal, two states who joined together. And now we have been succeeding. Each one on this way, own way. 30 years in union, 33 years without union. So, no way Somaliland will accept to have a union with Somalia.
I thought you might say that.
Then why are you asking me?
I thought the people should hear what your answer would be, and you gave it very well indeed. You mentioned the African Union. Why do you think the AU has taken the position that it has on Somaliland? Especially, they've sent fact-finding missions themselves and have recognized the uniqueness of Somaliland's case. Why do you think there hasn't been any action at the African Union on Somaliland?
Very simple. The problem of Africa as a whole is the problem of colonization. Some leaders of Europe at that time, they were in Berlin, so they took a pencil and they put on the map of Africa. They never considered the ethnicity, the culture, the governments or the kingdoms who were there in Africa. So simply they divided that pencil. So they created a problem which will take for a long time. A mother is here, her son is the other side of the boundary, a husband is here, his wife is the other side of the boundary. And that problem has the whole of Africa. So the African governments in 1963 in Cairo, they accepted, yes, we cannot solve this problem nowadays. So let the boundaries be as is they were from the colonization. So that's why Africa is still in a confusion. See Congo. Every other country. A lot of nations, different languages, different countries, different governments, kingdoms, slammed together by a pencil line. So African leaders, wherever they are afraid that if they accept Somaliland, there may be other countries who will follow that way. But they are wrong. And their commission stated that Somaliland is not a country which is succeeding from another country. Somaliland is within that chapter of OAU. The boundaries should be the colonial boundaries. Somaliland is the colonial boundaries. They see that. But some of them are manipulating that. We are afraid of that because there is a crisis in every country. See, Kenya, maybe 80 nations can't allow it. Ethiopia, Nigeria, Congo, and so forth. But the Commission, 2005, the African Union sent to Somaliland, Hargeisa, they concluded their report. The recognition Somaliland is seeking historically and politically is justifiable. That was the conclusion of the. So we need the support of the international community to fulfill that report, the African Union. That's why we came here, to tell the UN. Yeah,
I'm not sure the AU listens to the United States much, but perhaps we can put in a word.
If the United States government just not to talk, just if they look at Somalia, the Africans will come together too. Don't support it. We know the power where it is.
So obviously, Ukraine is on many people's minds. You referenced Ukraine and the awfulness of the Russian invasion. One argument that I've seen made is that the Russian invasion of Ukraine shows that Somaliland should remain part of Somalia because you don't want to violate borders. I personally disagree with that argument, and I assume you do as well. Can you explain to us why the Ukraine situation is different from the Somaliland situation?
I think it's clear. Historical. The Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. Then, when the Soviet Union collapsed, well, maybe 25 or 33 countries, they have got their independence, just like colonials from the African countries. So, Ukraine is an independent country since 1991 with its borders. But they have a cultural relations with the Soviet Union. The language, the culture, the heritage, they share it. And they are close neighbors. But they are an independent country. Why Russia is invading Ukraine, I don't know. You know me better. The Americans and Europeans are opposing that. The Russians are invading. That policy, I don't know. Let it be there. I will not go to that. But we are different from that. It's a clear. We are two different states. We have been recognized by 26 countries, including the United States of America. Then we voluntarily united. And now each one is going on its way, well, it's fair. So I think we are different, Ukraine and so on. But we share the anguish, the death, the refugee, the bombardment. We share all this. And we are well experienced. We were the first witness, most of us. So we feel it, and we are very sorry about it. And we don't support it to bombard cities, women, children. That's not a war. That's a massacre. It's anti-humanitarian. So we don't accept that. I will never support it. But politically we are different. But we share with the people of Ukraine the suffering. That we have experienced. And still we are suffering for 33 years. We share that agony together. But politically we are different. I hope you know it well.
Every democracy and country has its problems and its challenges. What would you identify as the most pressing challenge or problem that Somaliland has today with both its democracy but also more generally?
The challenge we have, the democracy is first. Somaliland has no industry. Our resources are very meager. So, a poor people to fulfill democracy is very difficult. When the person has no water to drink, no food, no shelter, most of youth are employed. Over 70% of our people are unemployed. And for the last 30 years, we have made 8 elections. 3 presidential elections, transfer of power of the president peacefully, just imitating the rich countries like UK, United States, who established it 300, 400 years ago. Just we imitated them. But we have a difficulty. And no progress in our economy. No progress in our recognition. No progress of the countries who are persuading us that democracy is the only viable government that can bring progress to the people. And still, no touchable results from our elections. So you can guess the challenge. Why a guy, a boy or a girl of started to vote when she was 18. 3 consecutive presidential elections, 15 years. Now she's 33, or he's 33, married with his children, unemployed, have no good school for his children, has no health care. Why does he support democracy? Guess that. Just because the United Kingdom, the Americans, the progressive people have tried it. Let's go that far. It's a challenge to us. They need to support those who share our values. So to understand and to get product from the elections and democracy. So we have the challenge we have is the poverty. Number 1. Security. All our whole of Africa, most of the countries are unstable. There are terrorists. Shabab, ICS, in Mogadishu, and the northern regions of Somalia. So all our efforts, all our migrant resource is under the category of what we call security department. 33% of our budget is allocated for the security departments, just to defend Al-Shabaab and ICS from the country. So, yes, democracy, we believe it. Our youth believe it. We have been socialists for the last 30 years. We saw what it is. We're friends of the Soviet Union. I was trained in Soviet Union. This guy is from Odessa, 4 years. So we have tasted what socialism is, what communism is. We refused it, we rejected it. So we took the path of democracy. Social, what's called free media, free market also. But we need the production of democracy. Our people, they need it. Not rhetoric, democracy, the best way, but we need the products. And we will get that the support of the U.S. people, not the government. U.S. people to understand that, to support and cooperate with the people who share them with their values, humanitarian, free market, free media, and democracy. So we are struggling with it, how to promote it.
Well, you certainly know your audience, singing the praises of democracy and criticizing socialism.
It is a factual.
The final question, we're already running out of time here, unfortunately, but what are you most proud of? Somaliland has a lot to be proud of. We've already discussed a number of those things. If you had to choose one element of Somaliland's experience, what would you say, this makes me most proud?
I am proud of the Somaliland people, how they are resilient. They are the only one, maybe in Africa or in East Africa, that their government have collapsed. And no one can imagine when the government collapses. All of a sudden, think you are in Washington, there is no police station, there is no bank, there is no electricity, there is no jail to put the criminals. How do you think that? We started from there. Even without water in our cities. Our people, they came back from the camps, refugee camps from Ethiopia. Thousands and thousands of them. And they came their homes, destructed by air and bombardment of tanks. Their people, their sons, their own maybe fathers are still their body left in the houses, not buried, for 2 years. They started from there. First, to make peace, to build institutions for their security, to rebuild the station police, to fetch for water the people, to start schooling, education, under the tree. There is one of our delegates who was learned under the tree for his first 10 years. He's with us. From there, we started to build a government institutions with a very meager help from NGOs. No government in the globe have helped us. And you know, we are very poor people. We have no industry. We have no oil. We have an oil and diamond, but we have not still explored it. So our people are very resilient. They are people who can survive with every situation, and their belief they can do it. They can do a government, and we made a government, the most democratic, the most peaceful in the Horn of Africa. We built it for 33 years, and I'm very proud of our people. Men and women.
Well, yeah, you should be proud. It's one of the things that I so admire about Somaliland is what they've created from extraordinarily difficult circumstances. We're out of time, unfortunately, but Your Excellency, we're so grateful that you came here to talk with us. We look forward, hopefully, to hosting you again in the future. Please think of us as friends, and we'll certainly be doing what we can to make American policy a little more rational and a little more beneficial for both our countries with regards to Somaliland. So thank you again.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to me to be in Washington again. I lived there. I think you were not born at that time. 1981 to 83, I was in the Embassy of Somalia in Watergate office for 3 years in Washington. I lived 2 years in Virginia, Fort Lee, Military Academy. And I was about 8 months in Colombia, Dayton, Wilbraham Air Base, to be trained as a procurement officer who will deal with. I was one of the first delegation of Somali military officers to enter the Pentagon, 1983. The first delegation. The Vice Minister, the Minister of Defense at that time from Mogadishu. So it's a great pleasure to be back in Washington, in America, to see how they changed, the progress you made, but still the Capitol Hill and the mall are the same as they were.
Well, thank you again, Your Excellency. Yeah.
It's not time for me to be there, 1 week to go. I have no time to go around to my school in Fort Lee or Aalihii, Dayton, or to my house in Duke Street. My good friend, the restaurant, who had with me at that time. I have no time to go around there. But it's a great pleasure to be back here again. Thank you very much.